In this video I will try to answer the question that many of you have asked. How do I go about planning the XC flight? Number 1, have a team. Number 2, know your area, do your research. Number 3, learn the weather specifics as much as possible. Number 4, have a plan. Make sure you have multiple options. Number 5, if possible, fly all of the route in different days so you know all of the area. Number 6, make notes so you can learn from your own mistakes and remember what you learned. Number 7, readjust your plan. I'm very lucky to always have had the support team from early in my paragliding progression. The team can be as simple as someone who is willing to bring you to the takeoff or do the retrieves for you. Today I have a small, highly experienced team of paragliding pilots and a vast group of passionate professionals helping me out just a phone call away. All I do won't be possible on my own. You need to know the area. The best option is to talk with an experienced pilot or have a mentor. This is by far the easiest, fastest and safest way to do it. It is possible to do it by yourself, do your research on your own. This will take more time and it will involve more risk, as it's hard to predict all the things that you might not know. Another good option is to do it together with other pilots, like-minded people who want to achieve cross-country goals. Meet up and talk about your plans, bounce off the ideas, you might come up with new ones. It's always good to share your plans and ideas and see where you can go together. Whichever way you choose to go, you have to know the area. The more you know, the better your chances of reaching your goal in cross-country. To give you an example, have a look at these two flights. Flight A was done my first time flying from Schaber. Flight B was done about a year later. There's a clear difference between the two flights. The transitions is more smooth, thermaling is more efficient, and you can tell that I actually know what I'm doing and where I'm going just by looking at the track log. The reason these two flights are so different is that I spent a year living and flying with the local pilots. I was researching the area, I was completely obsessed about the weather systems, the global ones, the micro ones, and I'm still learning about the area and improving my understanding of it. I have been flying from Schaber since 2017. During this time I have been learning from the local weather expert. He has been living here for over 25 years and weather has been his first passion since he was a little boy. Being a paragliding pilot, he's also able to explain in a great detail how any given system will affect the day specifically for us free flight enthusiasts. Learning from the best is the only way I know how to progress in a fast and safe manner. Now, after years of daily discussions and hundreds of hours of flying around this area, I am able to plan the flights with a lot more precision. Weather forecasting is an incredibly complex topic. I'm not going to go into details on how to forecast the weather in this video. If you are serious about chasing progression in paragliding, you have to invest time into understanding the weather. Weather conditions is what makes or breaks our plans, and weather conditions is also what keeps us safe. There are a lot of books, YouTube videos, forums full of information on how to understand the weather. It has to become your habit. Weather has to be your obsession. Alternatively, you can hire a professional that will do the forecasting for you. Many professional pilots does so. In a race like Red Bull X Alps, we had a dedicated person doing the weather for us, updating us throughout the day. During my own progression courses, I also have a dedicated person for weather forecasting, so I can focus on the task on hand. There's no reason for you not to have your own weather specialist. The two flights you saw earlier, the plan has always been to chase the 200-kilometer mark. After 2 seasons in 2019, I finally reached that goal. Next step is 250 kilometers, and I think that currently it is the limit from Schaber. Schaber is not a site that starts early and we don't have much of dynamic lift to be able to take off at 9:30, fly some 40 kilometers in the morning before the thermals really kick in, like San Hilaire allows that or other places. I think 250 is about the limit. I have been focusing on this plan for years. Start from Schaber, head west as far as the day allows me, then turn northeast, stretch out the flight as far as possible towards Grenoble, and then head back to St. Vincent Lake towards south, and in the late afternoon somehow fight the westerly winds and come back all the way to Schaber. The westerlies are not avoidable because of the way the local system works here. I was so focused on this plan that I couldn't see any alternatives, till one day my girlfriend and I were discussing the flight plan as we have had done for 1,000 times before. She came up with an idea, a really simple one, something that I couldn't see myself. She said to me, why don't you go west first as far as possible and then go to Grenoble all the way north and come back to Chabre straight. I spent a whole day obsessively researching this option. I looked at the flight options, I've checked every single flight ever done towards there with a hang glider or paraglider all the way west to the flats of Chabre. And it turned out to be a really possible flight. I haven't done it yet. This is the number one goal for 2022 season. Have a plan B. This is why we have to have a plan B, and then we have to have people around that can look at the same problem with the fresh eyes. I've been obsessively thinking of this 250 kilometer flight going towards north and then south back towards Chabre and fighting the westerlies. But that isn't the best way to do it. It's better to go west first as far as possible and then use the westerly winds to my advantage to come back. That's a big difference between trying to fight the westerlies with a paraglider which doesn't really fly that well into the wind. Fly the route in sections. Not always this is needed, but it sure helps to get to know the place. Also, it can be intimidating to go for a long flight into the unknown territory. I sure got lost my first XC flight in the Alps, just because the day turned out to be a lot better than expected and I found myself further than I ever been. I didn't know the area whatsoever. Afterwards I started to plan my flights a lot bigger than I thought I can do. I prepared my flight plan, I put it on my flight computer after I did my research for the area. Of course I felt at my 200 kilometer mark way more than I care to remember. I made notes after every flight and I made sure that I read those notes before planning my next attempt. I also took off from different takeoffs along the route so I get to know the place step by step, flight by flight. Today I don't get lost in Alps anymore. These big boys I know in and out after years of flying here. The Alps has become smaller in my head. I make notes right after landing so the memory is the most fresh at the moment. I read them before flying or before I start planning my next flight. And I do my best to adjust it to the new knowledge I've gained. That said, my best flight changes has come from people who look at it with fresh eyes. Like I mentioned before, my girlfriend Cecile, she gave me the idea about 250 kilometer FAI from Chabre going west first. I was so focused on one way to do it that I didn't see the option to do it differently. This is why it's really important to have people around you that can help you to look at the same problem from different point of view.